and Liberia.
So you welcome to this live broadcast. This is the closing ceremony of the European Union-Liberia political dialogue. It has been a day-long program. My name is Fabio speaking to us as we go to the rest of this program.
Your Excellency, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, honorable ministers and members of the legislature, dear colleagues and friends, it has been a long day. It has been a good day. Let me first try a quick recap of our discussion today and then evoke what I believe to be a few lessons learned that can help us for our future sessions of this dialogue. First, a recap of our dialogue. We have evoked the economic situation. I thank the Minister of Finance and Development Planning for his thorough presentation. We agreed that the process under the auspices of the IMF must continue and that regular consultations will take place. We discussed the business environment. I thank also the Honorable Minister of Commerce and the Chair of the National Investment Commission for their remarks. Companies need long-term vision on the legal and fiscal environment. National as well as foreign investors must be able to plan and to generate enough profits to pay for their initial investment. They are ready to be submitted to scrutiny within the parameters of the law. The Governance Commission, the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission, and the General Auditing Commission presented the government of Liberia's strategy to improve governance and fight corruption. The European Union reoffered support to address practices that sometimes seem to be structurally embedded in Liberia and that present much detriment to the efficiency of state policies as well as the functioning of the market and as well damage the international reputation of Liberia. I want to pay homage, particularly today, to Honorable Yusado Gai as she finishes her term at the head of the General Auditing Commission. The situation of the health sector, as well as the efforts to combat the COVID pandemic and to prevent Ebola cases from developing in Liberia, was presented by the Honorable Minister of Health. The European Union stands with Liberia in this joint effort against the global pandemic, as the delivery of vaccines co-financed by the EU last Friday has shown. The question of human rights was at the center of our agenda today, as had been decided during our previous meeting in February last year. The idea was to evoke a wide range of human rights, including civil, political, socio-economic, and collective development rights. The previous topic on health was part of that. In Liberia, one essential issue with the protection of human rights has to do with the fight against gender and sexually based violence and the strategy to end the cruel and destructive practice of female genital mutilation. The remarks of the Honourable Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection and the Minister of Justice were met with full understanding from the European side. But while it takes time to change the traditional mindsets around rights of women and FGM, there must be no doubt as to the final objective of government policy and the determination of authorities to fully stand by their international commitments and end FGM. Every lost day is a broken life for many little girls. Resuming after lunch and an impromptu musical interlude, that is for members only, we discussed with the representation of the National Electoral Commission and the Ministry of Justice the lessons learned from the recent election and referendum last December. While the performance of the NEC and the maturity of Liberian voters were hailed, shortcomings in gender balance, delay in certification of election results and financing, and a sustainable technical solution for the updating of the voters' roll will have to be addressed for the next cycle in 2023. Digital solutions were mentioned and the EU pledged its support. As the Minister of Justice said, democracy is the worst system of government short of all others that have been tested. That's not from him. I think it's from Winston Churchill. But democracy is also the most expensive system, short of all the hidden costs and sufferings caused by all other forms of government. So it's worth it. The recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission established after the civil crisis were debated with the Ministers of Justice and Foreign Affairs. The European Union pointed out that reconciliation and the need for victims to be recognized and find closure should remain at the top of the agenda. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs said, the issue is pivotal to how Liberia moves forward as a country. The Minister of Agriculture presented the government's vision for food security, which was hailed by the EU, and also the priority on agriculture put forth by the government. The European Union is preparing its future support to Liberia, and agriculture will be at the heart of it. A presentation of the priorities for education by the Minister of Education followed, stressing the importance of skills training for students who will not follow university education. The European Union recalled its contribution to the Global Partnership for Education and described support to technical and vocational training in Liberia. The last item on our list was the presentation by the head of cooperation of the EU delegation of preliminary ideas on the European side for the context, principles and content of its development program in Liberia for the next 7 years. The content of our discussions will be reflected in the report that will be drafted in common by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the European side and presently shorted for adoption to principles. I would now like to make a couple of reflections on our future work together. First comment. The dialogue that brings us together today is a very useful tool in the political and development relation between Liberia and the European Union. Nevertheless, I feel that we may have overcharged a little bit our agenda, preventing us from finding enough time for discussion on some important subjects. I therefore propose that our next meeting in this format be concentrated on a more limited number of topics, maybe only 2 or 3, so that short presentations may be followed by a more lively and robust debate, and we can agree on some follow-up actions to measure our joint progress. Second comment, our exchange on the programming of EU development support to Liberia for 2021 to 2027 had to be superficial, since, as Theo Kaspers pointed out, financial amounts and political orientations from headquarters in Brussels have not reached us yet here. I propose, therefore, that we organize in May or June this year, as the Minister said, when the missing orientations have arrived, another high-level session with the more directly concerned ministries and agencies to engage in a focused debate on the issue. Third comment, when programming is done and implementation starts, I believe that there will be need for regular high-level exchanges on the implementation of European aid. Therefore, on the side of our 2 annual political dialogue meetings in this formation, at the beginning and the end of each year, we could create a 3rd meeting in the middle of the year to address more specific issues dealing with the implementation of the European support to the development of Liberia. To wrap up, I would like to thank all of you for your active participation in our discussions today, and I pass the floor with respect to my good partner and friend, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador de la Rose. Honorable Community Wisa, Chairman, Senate Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Honorable Eva Jones, Co-Chair, House Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Laurent de la Rose, Head European Union Delegation in Liberia, distinguished ambassadors of the European Union, esteemed cabinet colleagues of the government of Liberia and heads of agencies here present, other officials of government, deputy ministers, ambassadors, and staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as other ministries that are here present, members of our vibrant staff, members of our vibrant press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We are glad to have successfully concluded the 9th edition of the European Union-Liberia Political Dialogue. After careful stock-taking and frank discussions, you will agree with me that it was a fruitful dialogue because each side expressed freely their respective viewpoints, acknowledged the progress made in addressing the national development priorities as put forth in the respective presentations and the implementation challenges. Similarly, today's dialogue noted the new framework that will guide our future cooperation in fulfilling our respective commitments. The government of Liberia is profoundly gratified that the European Union has been and continues to be an unwavering partner in Liberia's social and economic development and transformation drive. His Excellency Dr. George Weah, President of the Republic of Liberia, has a clear vision as to where he wants to take this potentially rich country, which is encapsulated into an actionable and realistic flagship national development plan called the POPO Agenda for Prosperity and Development. This development agenda carries along with it the aspirations of the Liberian people whose yearnings for a transformative life and livelihoods were in large measure not placed on the front burner for decades in the past, but kicked down the road to be a burden for future governments such as this of His Excellency President Weah. Thankfully, the government of His Excellency President Weah has made a strong commitment, and with the close cooperation of our European Union partners and other development partners and friends of Liberia, we will continue to confront those perennial development challenges head on so that future governments do not have to experience such. That is why our partnership with the European Union is rock solid, and we wish to reiterate and reaffirm that the government of Liberia will do what it takes to ensure the timely actualization of these national development priorities as agreed in this 9th dialogue. Notwithstanding, as in the case of any program implementation, there are challenges and lessons learned, and this dialogue is of no exception. Sectors where programs need further intervention, we will make the necessary improvement. We cannot solve all of the challenges discussed in this dialogue today, but we remain optimistic that we cannot solve all of the challenges discussed in this dialogue today, but we remain optimistic that in the ensuing 10th edition of the dialogue, we will demonstrate the trajectory of progress and achievements. Excellencies, cabinet colleagues, heads of agencies here present, members of the Fourth Estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we want to use this medium to appreciate our European Union partners, one of our key development partners in our country's transformation, for sticking with us despite the challenges they themselves are confronted with at home. This is the hallmark of genuine partnership, deeply rooted in our shared belief in multilateralism, human rights, gender equality, good governance, and democracy. We wish to particularly thank the head of the European Union delegation in Liberia, Ambassador Laurent de la Housse, for his leadership, and his predecessor, Ambassador Helen Kapp, who was instrumental in laying a sound foundation for these engagements. In the premise, we wish to also thank my predecessor, His Excellency Besonga Mayton Finlay, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, and all others who served before me. We will be remiss if we did not extend heartfelt gratitude to the distinguished excellencies from the European Union side, whose insights and contributions were equally remarkable. To my esteemed colleague ministers and heads of agencies, I want to equally applaud your presentations and active participation, which did not only enrich this dialogue, but left an indelible imprint on future dialogues. We want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for the impressive performance, the absence of which will have dampened the spirit and intent of this dialogue. Indeed, you were excellent and we achieved it together. We also extend our heartiest gratitude to all of our deputies, assistants, technicians, the secretariat, and the caterers for their support, without which we would not have been successful. We want to equally applaud the Liberian side for their dedicated commitment to our nation's development efforts and the strong political will deployed in the realization of the expressed goals contained in the Popo Agenda for Prosperity and Development. In conclusion, I want to thank the legislature through Honorable Senator. In conclusion, I want to thank the legislature through Honorable Senator Komine B. Wissa and Honorable Representative Eva Jones for gracing the program and making remarks which added momentum to the whole of government approach mantra in tackling the developmental challenges of our common patrimony. And to those who assisted in making this ninth dialogue a success, not forgetting the vibrant members of the folk estate, we say thank you. Finally, as we anticipate the 10th dialogue with a renewed vigor, let us always bear in mind that the partnership between the European Union and Liberia is bound to blossom because we have demonstrated firm political will and leadership in advancing the mutual causes that bind our two peoples and regions together. And now, on behalf of His Excellency Dr. George Manewia, President of the Republic of Liberia, declare this 9th European Union Liberia political dialogue officially closed. I thank you.
We will now hear from our lawmakers, and we will firstly invite Representative Arbor K. Jones of District Number 2, Magidi County, who is the co-chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Let me begin saying all protocols said and sustained.
I also want to use this time to recognize members of the high table, our international partners, members of the executive branch of government. We are happy to be represented here today, and we are grateful that our partners are able to sustain this bilateral trade agreement that has existed over the period of time. As member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, representing my chairperson and the Speaker of the House of Representatives in person of Dr. Buffers Chambers, we want to assure you as partners that we stand ready to continue the sustainable engagement you have carried on and continue to show the Liberian people. What has been discussed here today is something that the legislature has tried its best in finding solution to. But like it is said, no one man is an island. It is good that we have the European Union as our partners who have come and continue to work with us. So from the end of the legislature, we want to assure you of our unflinching support to the executive branch of government who has the technical know-how in engaging with you, our partners. We want to say thanks very much for what you have done, especially in providing the vaccine that was just received in recent time. I want to say Liberia has been on the right trajectory because we listened to our partners applauding us for the step taken in preventing the COVID expansion in Liberia. Liberia was used as an example, especially when some of our partners visited us during the COVID period. The UK delegation that came to Liberia went back to UK and used Liberia as a case study. So it means that we stand ready to work with you. We stand ready to ensure that those desirable things that needed to be done or need to be done to ensure that we foster the development of not only Liberia but the international community at large, we are ready and waiting to work with you. As it was said, but the slogan, change for hope, we now say that through the sustainable engagement from you, our partners, with God above, we will get there. Thank you very much. And for the executive branch of government, meaning the House of Representatives, we are open, waiting, and ready to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. We'll now invite to the podium Senator Kamini B. Wiese, Chair of the Senate Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, for remarks.
Thank you. I'm sure I'm not out of protocol to acknowledge all that have been acknowledged. I'd like to thank our Foreign Minister once again and his partner in the conduct of this meeting. What appeared to be the summary of the meeting that I've heard gives me happiness from the Senate. Even though I have been told that the meeting has been closed, the Minister of Justice is looking at me, that the meeting has been closed. So whatever I say, don't take it into account. It's off the record. However, please remember it. I would like, I want to thank you all. I have seen that in your work, we have not seen the close working relations between yourselves and the legislature. However, we had a program called the Legislative Modernization Program that was supported by the US and I think the European Union and others. We would like for us to pay attention to it again because we want the legislature to be 21st century compliant. We have seen that everything that is happening seems to go back to the legislature. During the tour of the president in the Southeast, almost everywhere he spoke, he said, your representatives, your senators, and that shows the very importance of the legislature. For those who follow our Liberian peace process, after the peace agreement was signed, we came to Liberia, and to ensure the implementation of the peace agreement, the legislature was the key place. All the armed factions were represented. They had veto power, but were able to ensure that that agreement was upheld. Elections were held on time, and since that time, the peace agreement is holding. So it means that the strategic importance of the legislature must always be taken into account. And those who are our partners need to deal with it in supporting the modernization program. I'm told, I've just talked to Ambassador Dalapos for a meeting soon. And I know the Swedish ambassador had a meeting with the President pro tempore. We hope that we can have a meeting with the European Union together. We talked about the increased participation of women. I don't want us to forget it. I think there's a reference from the report that I listened to that there was a reference. But we have to do it. We have to make it happen. Don't be like me. I am a fighter for women's rights. 2023, I'm going for elections. I told all the people that if you want me to fight for you, you women, vote for Communist Wizard. But there will be vacant seats. All of them are open to our women. And we will fight for them to be elected. Let's set the example. Parties, ruling, no ruling party. Let us put forward women. Demonstrate it. We must not go in the election without women candidates. They can only win when they are candidates. So, education. We can build the roads. We can put up the light. If we delay the brain development, our children will die in the gold mines all over the country. All over the country. We want the schools to open. I said to people during the tour of the president, there were young people dressed in uniform standing on the roadside to welcome the president. It reminded me of our conversation with President Carter when he went to Firestone to meet with President Taylor. And he told us that there were schools going on behind the lines. He was told that those were uniforms put on students, put on young people. There were no schools functioning. So we saw, and the Minister of Education is there. Tuesday he's coming to the Senate. The schools are closing. There are no teachers. We were told when we called the Education Minister on Thursday that the World Bank said our teachers were not qualified, the school system needed to be cleaned up, and it will be only then that the money they gave will be given to the education system. That was what the ministry said. I want us in our friendship and in our collaboration to pay attention to the education system. Let us put money in the education system and make it to work so that our people will not depend on Europeans perpetually about how we develop ourselves. So if we are good friends, please support our education system, and our mothers must be educated and the children will go to school. If you leave it to the men alone, they will not go to school. COVID-19. We want to thank, my colleague has already spoken, but there has to be, something has to be said why we said only 48 people in Liberia now are affected with COVID-19. That means the food we eat, the things we do, got to be, we need to put some study into it. There has to be something we are doing right. But if we just believe that we're not doing anything right, that we are waiting for somebody's vaccine, I think we'll get into plenty of trouble. Let us collaborate with our friends that we can teach something. We might be able to discover why we are living longer, why we are able to deal with our COVID problems without the numbers that we hear that are coming from Europe. At least something we'll be teaching them too. Transformation leads to distinction. We must learn to work all the time to transform our society. In doing so, we will stand out. Each of us, if we're fighting for justice, do it in such a way that we stand out. If we just believe we must conform in order to please something, I'm sorry, there will be extinction. Transformation leads to distinction. Conformation leads to extinction. Thank you.
I want to thank the Senator for those remarks. I believe that caught the attention of all of the participants here today. Thank you, Senator. All right, I will be reading the EU-Liberia Political Dialogue Joint Press Release. Monrovia, March 12, 2021. The government of the Republic of Liberia and the European Union met today for the 9th edition of the EU-Liberia Political Dialogue. This meeting was held under Article 8 of the Cotonou Partnership Agreement between the EU and the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states, which enables the establishment of a platform for regular and comprehensive political dialogue. The 9th EU-Liberia Political Dialogue was co-chaired by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Ambassador D. Maxwell Sah Kemaya Sr., and the head of the delegation of the European Union to Liberia, Ambassador Laurent de la Hose. Both
parties discussed a large number of issues of mutual interest, including the state of the economy and public finance and the implementation of the PAPD, creating the conditions for broad-based economic growth and job creation through business and investment climate measures, governance, accountability, transparency, and anti-corruption measures, human rights, including the conclusion of the latest session of the Universal Periodic Review on Liberia, and the fight against sexual and gender-based violence, elections, including lessons learned from the 2020 midterm senatorial elections and the constitutional referendum, as well as electoral reform. Public health issues, including Liberia's response to COVID-19 and preparedness to Ebola virus disease. The recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, food security, education, including technical and vocational education and training, and the programming of the EU-Liberia partnership in the period 2021 to 2027, following the period of 2014 to 2020, during which the European Union support to Liberia under the European Development Fund amounted to around 330 million United States dollars. At the end of the dialogue, both parties reaffirmed their commitment to continuing to hold regular political dialogues on issues of common interest and following up on the conclusions and agreements reached in the course of these dialogues. The parties also reaffirmed their commitment to further strengthening the EU-Liberia partnership and expressed their desire to the 10th edition of the EU-Liberia political dialogue takes place in the second half of 2021. Members of the Liberian delegation include His Excellency D. Maxwell Sir Kemaya Sr., Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Samuel Tuer, Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Honorable Mawani Deeks, Minister of Commerce and Industry, Honorable Williametta Bissota Sedi, Minister of Gender, Children, and Social Protection, the Honorable Frank Musa Dane Jr., Minister of Justice, the Honorable Jenny Millie Cooper, Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Ansu Soni, Professor, Minister of Education, His Excellency Isaac W. Yenebu II, Ambassador of Liberia to Belgium and the European Union, the Honorable Moliwule B. Gray, Chairman of the National Investment Commission, the Honorable Elizabeth Dokken, Acting Chairperson of Kanyo Bala, Acting Chairman of the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, Honorable Yusedo Gray, Chairman of the General Auditing Commission, Councillor Boyka Dukley, Commissioner of the National Elections Commission, Honorable Emma Mathieu Glasgow, Executive Director, the Honorable C. Mike Doyen, Managing Director of Forestry Development Authority, and Honorable Edward Mulba, Executive Director, Ministry of Internal Affairs. And the Minister of Health, Wilhelmina Jala. Representing the European Union, besides the head of the delegation of the European Union, Ambassador Laurent de la Hose, were the Ambassador of Germany, Herbert J. Jagger, Ambassador of Sweden, Ingrid Wetterquist, Ambassador of Ireland, Leslie Lee Barren, Ambassador of France, Michael Roux, Chargé d'Affaires of Ireland, Kate O'Donnell, the Deputy Head of Mission of Germany, John Simier, Deputy Head of Mission of France, Hugues Nagy, Head of the Political Press and Information Section of the Delegation of the European Union, Jean Antonio Frutas Goldaret, Head of Cooperation of the Delegation of the European Union, Theodoros Kasper, Head of Governance Operational Section of the Delegation of the European Union, Jerik Tony, First Secretary of Sweden, Otto Imonen, Second Secretary of Ireland, Rachel Fitzpatrick, and representative of the French Development Agency, Mathilde Richlet. I think I'm correct. I think we've come to the end of the press release issued today on March 12 in the city of Monrovia, Republic of Liberia. Thank you. All right, we've now come to the end of this dialogue. We want to give ourselves a big hand clap. And we want to again thank the co-chairs, His Excellency, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and His Excellency, the Ambassador of the European Union to the Republic of Nigeria. We want to thank also our platform guests, other platform guests.
All right, folks, this is, we come to the end of this long 9th edition of the EU Liberia Political Dialogue. You listen to the joint statement, press statement given out to the public. My name is Godfrey Billy-Consult. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your many comments. Thanks for watching KMTV. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for making out the #1 TV station. My name is Godfrey Billy-Consult. It's bye-bye from the Foreign Affairs Ministry. What?